Let's face the truth directly. There's a kind of exhaustion that sleep can't fix. It hides behind every polite smile, every forced agreement, every deafening silence when you're finally alone.
You call it stress, responsibility, even maturity. But the truth is, you're slowly betraying yourself. There's a voice deep inside one you've spent half your life trying to ignore. It whispers when you're making big decisions. It protests when you're surrounded by success that doesn't feel like yours. It pounds on your chest when you look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. And at night, that voice becomes louder. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling like it's a screen, and the questions come crashing in. Who am I really? What do I even want? Don't brush it off as overthinking. That's not confusion, it's a signal from your soul. You're not tired. You're misaligned. You're living in a way that goes against your original wiring. And that wiring, your inner operating system, is something Carl Jung saw with painful clarity. He wasn't just talking theory. He was naming a brutal truth. Most of us are trying to live a life that doesn't belong to us, speaking in a voice that was never really ours. Are you willing to peel back every layer? To question every belief you've accepted out of habit? To rebuild yourself not from your social mask, but from your dominant function? If so, I invite you into this space. Subscribe to this channel. Here, we don't offer easy answers, only deeper questions and the courage to explore them together. Understanding how you think is one thing, but realizing what you've spent your whole life ignoring, that's where real transformation begins. So let's start. What's your type? Because whether you know it or not, it's been shaping everything. Before we dive into the 4 core personality functions, there's something even more fundamental that defines how you engage with the world. Carl Jung identified 2 basic attitudes that shape the direction of your psychic energy. Introversion, oriented toward the inner world self, reflection, depth, solitude. Extroversion, focused on the outer world action, connection, stimulation. Most people confuse introversion with shyness, or think extroversion means being loud and outgoing. But that's a shallow misunderstanding. An introvert can be bold and confident, but they recharge alone and process inwardly. An extrovert may enjoy solitude, but they gain energy through engagement and activity. Jung believed neither is better than the other. They're simply different ways of experiencing reality. But here's where it gets interesting. Your personality isn't just about being introverted or extroverted. Those are the gateways. What lies beyond them are the 4 core functions that define how you actually interpret the world. Thinking, logic, structure, objectivity. Thinkers solve problems through analysis and clarity. Feeling, values, empathy, harmony. Feelers make decisions based on what's right and emotionally resonant. Sensation, practicality, presence, realism. Senses trust what they can see, touch, and experience now. Intuition, imagination, patterns, potential. Intuitives look beyond the surface, always chasing the what if. Each of us has a dominant function. It's your most natural way of processing life. But here's the catch. Do you actually know which one is yours? Or have you been trained to suppress it? Because if you've been living out of alignment with your true function, life will feel heavier than it needs to be. Decisions will feel forced. Your relationships may feel slightly off. But once you uncover your dominant function, things begin to make sense. You start to see why you think the way you do. Why some things drain you and others light you up. You begin to live in sync with your inner wiring, not against it. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." These 4 functions are your core. You were born with a dominant one, the way you naturally and effortlessly process the world. It's your inner mother tongue. But here's the problem. From the moment you could understand words, the world started telling you that your native language was wrong. If you're a thinker, they called you cold or unfeeling, told you to be more human. If you're a feeler, they said you're too emotional. Stop being so sensitive. If you're a sensor, they said you're short-sighted. Think bigger. Dream more. If you're an intuitive, they said you're unrealistic. Get your head out of the clouds. So, the exile began. You started suppressing your dominant function. You forced yourself to operate in a language that isn't yours, awkward, exhausting, foreign. You called it adapting. You called it growing up. But at what cost? The cost is that deep, unexplainable fatigue. The kind of loneliness that doesn't go away, even when you're surrounded by people. That creeping panic when everything on the outside looks right, but something inside feels deeply wrong. Because your soul is starving, and you're feeding it something it was never meant to digest. And here's where it gets truly unsettling. Jung warned us, the more you suppress and ignore your dominant function, the more your inferior function, the one buried in your unconscious, the one you barely recognize, begins to grow restless and eventually violent. It's like a version of yourself you don't know, and it waits until the moment you're most stressed, most vulnerable. Then it kicks down the door. For the thinker, long reliant on logic, it's a flood of uncontrollable emotion. For the feeler, who lives for connection and harmony, it's a sudden, cold, cutting judgment words that wound the people they love. For the grounded sensor, it's a wave of irrational, catastrophic fears that paralyze them. And for the visionary intuitive, it's becoming trapped in meaningless details, unable to move forward. These moments aren't random. They're not accidents. They're your repressed self, fighting back. Every act of self-sabotage, every ruined opportunity, every emotional breakdown you can't explain. It's that buried part of you screaming, this path isn't right. What you resist often becomes what defines you. So let me ask you this. When you look at your life, your work, your relationships, your daily routine, is it something you chose or something you settled for? The role you play every day. Is it an honest expression of who you are, or just a version of yourself that keeps others comfortable? If validation, approval, or success didn't exist, how would you spend your time? What would you be doing? Don't rush to answer, because the truth might shake you. You may realize you've built a beautiful prison and convinced yourself to fall in love with it. This video isn't here to give you a label. It's here to offer you a key to unlock the inner prison you didn't know you were living in. Jung called this process individuation. It's not about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness doesn't come from adding more. It comes from tearing things down. Tearing down the beliefs, the roles, the expectations that were never truly yours. And yes, it's hard. When you start speaking your soul's native language, some people won't understand you anymore. They'll say you've changed, that you're selfish, that you're hard to be around. You might lose people. You might feel alone. But you will also, for the first time, truly breathe your own air. You'll make choices that bring peace, not anxiety. You'll feel a quiet, steady power, not from applause, but from within. Because authenticity is a power of its own. But listen closely. This isn't the kind of power that helps you conquer the world. It's the kind that helps you reclaim yourself. And the process? It's less like building something new, and more like tearing something down. And yes, there's a cost. You'll lose applause. You'll lose some friends. You'll lose the validation you once thought you couldn't live without. You'll go through a season of solitude. Because the path to authenticity is often walked alone, at least at first. But your greatest enemy, it's not them. It's not the criticism, not the expectations of society. The real battle is with the ideal self you built. The version of you shaped by other people's approval, social media filters, and hollow praise. You've invested so much into becoming that image. that you started to resent everything in yourself that didn't match it. Your anger, your jealousy, your exhaustion, your sensitivity. The real betrayal didn't start when you began pleasing others. It started the moment you punished yourself for not being perfect. You became your own prison guard. And all those parts of you you've rejected, buried, or silenced, they didn't disappear. You threw them into what Jung called the shadow. But Jung's most profound insight was this: the shadow is not your enemy. It's your long-lost ally. Inside it are not just your weaknesses, but your silenced strengths, your strangled creativity, your inconvenient intuition, your righteous anger meant to protect your boundaries, your raw, unfiltered truth. All of it buried, all of it waiting for the moment you finally have the courage to stop lying to yourself and start listening. Integrating the shadow isn't about becoming darker. It's about becoming whole. So stop running. Stop performing. Stop explaining. Sit in the chaos of your life. Sit among the ruins. And for the first time, listen without judgment to the voice that has always been inside you. The voice that knows who you really are. That's individuation. That's the journey back to yourself. And if you're still watching this, that's no accident. That voice inside you, the one you've ignored for years, it's finally grown too loud to drown out. This isn't another video designed to make you feel good. This is a call to action. If something in this resonated, consider subscribing. Because this conversation is just beginning. There is so much more to uncover. And in the comments, don't explain. Don't overthink. Just write 4 words. I choose what's real. No quotation marks. No disclaimers. Just a quiet promise to yourself. A first step toward freedom. A declaration to the universe. You're done pretending. You're ready to live. Now, close this video. Find a mirror. Or stare into the black screen in front of you. Look into your reflection and ask it, who am I?